Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 14 of the Next Gen Bets podcast.
We got a big episode here. We got some college football playoffs to talk about, and then we're gonna transfer it right into some bets for today's wild card weekend in the NFL.
For sure. We'll start it off with the biggest one of them all, which is Notre Dame winning their semi-final game against Penn State. That was huge. What an emotional game when it comes to being a fan watching it, just the roller coaster that was that game. Especially you got the first half. I really did feel like we didn't have a chance going into halftime. Well, until Stephen Jelly got in, then I was like, okay, we got something here. Um, but I knew Notre Dame would be Notre Dame and put Riley Leonard back in, which I didn't really want at the time.
Oh
Still
wow.
would have rather Steve play the whole game, but it is what it is. Um, but the second half was huge. The scoring started the second half, and then we needed that Penn State mistake, and we got it. So that's that. There was a lot of things that game that did not go our way, but that finally did. A lot of the interceptions that got called back, both of them, they were terrible picks. They got called back, so Drew got kind of lucky there. Should have had three picks, at least two in my opinion. Um, but yeah, no, just crazy, crazy game.
Yeah, Drew Aller was absolutely terrible. I think he finished 12 for 23 with the one
Yeah,
pick. And he'd have been under 500 completion percentage if it wasn't for that last lateral play they ran, because he got like that counted as a completion.
yeah,
Um, they threw the two picks that got called back, so he really could have had three. And the two that he did throw were probably worse than the one that actually counted. Like the one he did throw, he got kind of got hit on the throw. And it was just a bad decision to even throw it there. But the two ones that got called back were just complete, oh wait, 10-yard underthrows.
yeah,
So in my mind, watching it, like up until that final pick that Aller threw, Penn State was like +4 in the turnover margin. Is
yeah. They
Notre
were.
Leonard had the two picks, or was it with a pick and a fumble? But Notre Dame had two turnovers, and then Penn State had two that got called
We
back.
had two picks. We
Flag.
threw two picks.
Yeah, two picks. So Abdul Carter was really good for Penn State in that game, I thought. And then our bets. So we had Penn State's team total under 20 and a half and the game under 45 and a half. So what happened for these two, they both did not hit technically. But as Penn State was going to score their second touchdown to make it 17-17 after Notre Dame came back from down 10-0 to make it 17-10. I cashed out both of these and ended up being even. I gained like $10 in profit on the game under because it was still a long way to go. And I like lost like $9 on the Penn State team total. I tweeted about this when I was doing it. Actually, I kind of caught FanDuel sleeping. Um, they scored the touchdown and I looked at the cash it offers and they hadn't the score on the FanDuel app still said 17-10 even though the ball was already in the end zone. So I cashed out both of them, and then they obviously dropped after. So it was great play on me there, and then ended up not cashing. So for those two, I ended up not losing any money. And then of course we had Notre Dame win margin 1 to 13 points, and that one hit nicely. It was a plus 200 exactly. So nice, triple your money there. So
Yeah, and then
good
I
day.
had I had Penn State over 16 and a half team total. That was in a little parlay that I had. Um, and that's the parlay that ended up hitting actually. I had two parlays for the game. Well, they were for both games. I had one pick from one game, one pick from another. I had two of those. And then I had another parlay that was just from the Ohio State Texas game. But my Penn State over 16 and a half points hit. Um, it looked a little shady at first, but I mean they had 10 points going in and a half,
Yeah,
but
no, theirs was pretty.
the also I didn't bet it, but I said I would have bet it, but I'm glad I didn't, is the overall under for that game. That got kind of blown up. First half I would have been feeling really good, but
Yeah, that's one of the
second
ones you either gotta like we had that bet, you either gotta cash it out and take your profit, or you gotta arb it. I should have arbed it and created a hold. That's what I like
yeah,
doing in a lot of these games. So if you guys don't understand what that means is since the when it was 0-0 at the end of the first quarter, the total game under would probably be like 10 points lower than what we bet it at. So you bet that or like all under a little higher. So then we either make like $5 either way, or if it hits that like 10-point window, we hit both bets and make even more. So you do something like that to, guarantee your profit. And then you got to stop sweating it because it did turn into a sweat late in that game. And you could, like, I ended up cashing out because you could feel that the over was
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, for sure.
Especially once you get a tie game like that, then you either have overtime where unders get absolutely killed in college football, or you know it means somebody's got to at least score to win the game. So once it was 17-17, and then as soon as you get the next touchdown, it's like, all right, over's not looking great here. And we got 24-24. Now under was still technically alive, but you know somebody needed to score because the game can't end in a tie, and then that would hit your over. So
Yeah, yep. Even in the I don't want to say the Texas Ohio State game was a sweat, but it like could have. There was
what?
an
Over under?
opportunity for no for well for sweating my bets. Like there was an well, I had to sweat that Texas one, but I'm just saying like the over under could have been a sweat if Texas played
I
a little
had
bit.
a Texas team total on that one, and it was
You have
23
over
and
or
a half
under? You have
under.
under?
So
Oh,
when
okay.
when they were had 14 points and at the one to make it a tie game, I was like, oh, if this goes into overtime, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna make it 21-21, and then I was like, all right, Ohio State, just go kick a field goal as time expires, and we'll be cool. But obviously, big play from Jack Sawyer, who I cannot stand that guy.
I hate him.
So unlikable. But
Absolutely despise him.
this is like honestly, this is a national championship that I have so little interest in. Like I know
Yeah,
obviously Connor, you're a
I have a lot
big
of
Notre
interest in it,
fan.
but
It's like
I
it's two teams I don't like. Like I don't
dude,
want to
I
say anything
hate
happy
Ohio
in
State
the
so
game.
much.
I
I literally despise Ohio
I
State.
think I hate Ohio State more, but normally I would root for Notre Dame. Like I like Marcus Freeman, but I do not like Riley Leonard. So
Yeah, dude.
like two unlikable
He
quarterbacks,
pisses me off
two
sometimes.
teams that aren't gonna play on Sunday.
I know.
I don't know who I want to see.
I don't know. Be careful, dude. You ask an Ohio State fan, Will Howard's going fucking first, second round because they're
Yeah, no,
fucking
they're
about as
delusional. There's
dumb as a
no
box of rocks. You know,
no.
they're like, oh, he's an
He was
elite.
he was awful yesterday. Like he was legitimate. He had one touchdown that had a -7 air yards to Trevion Henderson. That was his highlight. He got stuffed at the goal line like twice trying to get it the Riley Leonard, let your running back work the whole drive and then you steal the rushing touchdown. He couldn't even do that successfully.
Yeah,
The one pick he did throw was well underthrown. It was if you I ended up pausing the game while I was watching it. He had I believe it was Egbuka on the other side on the same route. Like they had a comeback and like on the seam, like a slot comeback, and then they had the far receiver on a comeback, and he just never. All he had to do was turn his head, and Egbuka would have caught it, turned around, and probably gained another 20 yards of rack afterwards. It was just like, why do you not stare at your first round receiver on a one-on-one on the far side of the field? Like I would be throwing the ball that way, most of the time, but he's trying to fit it into heavy three-man zone coverage around Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate because he was having a good game as well. And like that was a really I thought Texas had life after that. Well, they did have life, but then Texas obviously choked at the end.
Texas. Yeah, that was an insane choke
Both
job.
quarterbacks in that game were not impressive. All Quinn Ewers was doing was hitting his running backs for checkdowns.
Yeah,
And then the one positive, like big play Ohio State had was it had -7 air yards on that screen touchdown. Which
yeah,
how do you allow that if you're Texas? Could have been 7-7 at the half, but you let that. But also in that game, we had Ohio State first quarter money line, and that was probably one of the easiest bets we've had.
yeah. I had Ohio State first quarter minus 1.5, which
Yep,
is that
those
was a
were
spread, but that was plus money. So
so easy.
I did
I
have it
also
in a
had the
parlay
first
though.
quarter over in a parlay with Ohio State money line, but that I kind of needed Ohio State to get the ball first. That was like the concept there, but Texas got it and they did nothing. So
Yeah, I had Ohio State minus 1.5 first quarter spread, and then I had Texas team total over 16.5, and that did not hit.
yeah,
But
it was
I had
close.
Ohio State's team total under 29.5, and that hit with them getting 28. So that was a part of that parlay with Penn State over 16.5. So I did made money there. And due to my like the way I bet it, I bet I bet to win 1 unit, so I profited on the day either way
Yeah,
because
you had some high odds.
I
Yeah,
had yeah 2+ money bets, so I just needed one of them to hit and I profited. So
I
finished
think this
up.
is our best college football weekend.
Yeah,
That at least since the playoff started. But so
yeah,
hopefully and the
I'm
Natty in
pretty happy
behind him.
with. the two reads that we had. These two games were they kind of went how you they should have. I feel like the biggest issue with college football is there's a lot of anomalies and there's a lot of like what the hell just happened, kind of like I don't have a perfect example, but you'll have a game where it's like kind of like Arizona State and Texas. Like Texas should have just beat the piss out of Arizona State. Kind of like Penn
Yes.
State beat the piss out of Boise. Like that should have happened. And so like if you bet Texas spread, you're like, what the hell? When actually I think that hit because of how
No,
they
there was less
didn't
than
they
a
win by
touchdown.
8?
What?
Didn't Texas win
Oh,
by
against
8?
Arizona State? No, it was like 13, the spread.
Okay, yeah. So you would think they would hit that, but they didn't.
They should
But
have
like
after the first.
yeah, they should have. But like then you have the game, the Penn State Notre Dame game went exactly how you would expect a Penn State Notre Dame game to go, and it was a
It was
great.
it was genuinely awful for the first half.
Yeah, it was terrible first half, but
The
the
most
second half
exciting
made up
thing in
for
the
it.
first half was that Steve Jelly came in and Notre Dame actually moved the ball.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then somehow at halftime, Jeremiah Love's knee was fine. I love they're talking about how he's not gonna hurdle, he's not gonna hurdle. And then he just cleared a 6'3" dude
Dude,
like for nothing.
when he did that, I kid you not, I laughed. Like I
Oh
genuinely
yeah.
laughed when he did it because I that's
It's
what they were talking
unreal.
about before the game. They were like, oh, like he told himself he cannot hurdle, and then you just see him
Bro,
hurdle.
and it wasn't even like like he didn't need to hurdle. He didn't gain anything from hurtling.
I mean, he kind of did.
Well, yeah, he got like 2 more yards out of it, but
Yeah,
like
he was going
it
to get
wasn't
tackled
like
in the
he was like
backfield or get two
no, but
yards.
like usually you think of a hurdle, it's like the last guy to beat. You just jump over
Oh
like
yeah,
a
no,
safety.
yeah, no,
He hurdled a D line like an edge rusher at the
yeah.
line of scrimmage to gain 2 yards.
Hey, it's better than losing too.
Yeah, no, I know, but it was like just a random,
No,
just a
yeah, he's a
random hurdle.
dog. He's a dog. I love that guy. That run, that touchdown run that he had, dude, that shit was so fire, dude. He just like he's hurt, obviously he hurdled, so he's clearly decent, but
Yeah,
like still not 100%. And he just fucking ran headfirst into Penn State's D line, got stuffed, and then just kept going, and then found a way to get in the end zone. That shit
yeah.
was so cool.
That was
I was
like
like, yeah, that's my guy.
the one play I think Abdul Carter didn't make in this game. Is he
Yeah,
had they had two guys had him and Abdul Carter came in. It looked like he was
he
just
went
gonna
for the
stand
ball.
up too short. I think he went for the ball.
Yeah.
Obviously didn't get it, and then
Dude, Abdul Carter, also dog. I did not realize how good he was.
yes,
It was like one of those things where like that's the only thing Penn State fans have is him and Drew Lar and he's ass, so
he
or
looks so much like Micah Parsons. Well, Penn State's running backs were very good. We did talk
yeah,
about
they are good. Yeah, they are
Singleton
good.
was good. Aller
Yeah,
somehow
Singleton is
couldn't hit
good.
Singleton on a 5 yard flat.
That was insane. That
That
was
was
insane.
insane. And
That
KJ
that needs
Allen
to
was
be
also
studied.
good.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, no, he's Abdul Carter is absolutely insane. Like,
But somehow Penn State's receivers, 0 catches.
yeah,
All of them. Like not one, zero. Like,
yeah, that's
like
insane.
it wasn't like your number one receiver got locked up, the whole receiving core. And I was talking to my friend who's a Penn State fan. Like this is on your coaching staff all season long because they did not use receivers. So then like obviously this works against Minnesota and in Illinois and these mid Big Ten schools, but you play a real team in the college football. It works against Boise and SMU, but you when you have to beat a real team like Ohio State early in the season or Notre Dame in the playoff here, um, you're not winning if you can't use your whole offense. And they almost don't even have routes. Like, how do we not get like just a quick wide receiver screen, get your guy the ball in space, or here's a quick slant or a 3rd and 20, hit him on a 5 yard in route just to, make it easier for your punter. They like, how do you not get any of those? Like, even the plays that don't amount to anything, how do you not get any of those? And we see even Ohio State got Jeremiah Smith the ball on a screen. We saw them hitting easy throws to their other receivers, and their receivers had, a bad game for their receiver standards.
Yeah, I
Well,
hope they do that next week too.
Texas's receivers were wide open yesterday. They couldn't catch the ball, but they were open. And like Penn State doesn't have these. Aller can't hit them when they are open. The only successful pass plays they have is to their running backs or to Tyler Warren. But like, how do you not,
Yeah,
especially with how good their running backs and tight end are, like how do they not get taken away and you just get, a busted coverage for your receiver? The same way Notre Dame did, where Great House had
yeah,
some nice
that was fucking nuts.
54-yard touchdown, and then he had like the final 10-yard catch to set up the field goal.
But
So
that was busted coverage because he put him
that
on his
wasn't
ass.
busted coverage. He dropped the
Yeah,
dude.
he put him on his ass. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Twice.
Like,
He put
Yeah. Well,
He rubbed
he
his
put
pass
the
on the
guy in the
route.
line of scrimmage
Yeah,
square on
and
his
then he
ass,
made the
and
safety
then
call.
he had the safety slide and like his ankles were in fucking Vietnam or something like that. It was
All
insane.
right. Real quick before we go to NFL, Connor, as a Notre Dame fan, what do you expect in this championship?
Um, to be quite frank, Ohio State's like the team that I fear the most, I feel like. Um, so I cannot say I am the most confident about beating Ohio State. I do think we would cover that 8 point spread that they had,
Yeah,
but I don't know, dude. We've
because
lost so
everyone's like, oh, well, Ohio State
many.
covered against Texas, but they really didn't. It should have been 21-21, and we got a ball game.
Yeah, it should have been yeah, it should have been a tied game going in
And
overtime or
it
something.
should have been a tie game going into halftime, too. You don't let up a
Yeah.
75-yard
Yeah, they let
touchdown
up
on a
that massive
screen.
touchdown, yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be a good one.
I'm hopeful, but I'm a little worried, and I do know for a fact that if Ohio State wins, I'm gonna be so pissed off. So,
We'll
and,
dive into this one more.
what?
We'll dive into this game more. It's not till next Monday.
Yeah, we got time.
We got time. But let's talk some NFL. It's Wild Card weekend, and I think we got some really good bets for this. I like it. There's a lot of numbers on, Wild Card weekend, a lot more than the playoff. Like when we talked about week one of this playoff, we know what the NFL playoffs is. It's been around forever. So first bet, betting against rookie quarterbacks. They're 5-17 in Wild Card weekend. Rookie quarterbacks at start are. So we're taking Tampa Bay money line and the Buffalo Bills money line together. That's minus 103. And we're putting 2 units on this one. 5-17 is a great number. And obviously both of them are on the road, which I think makes it even better. Washington at Tampa and Denver at Buffalo. These games are both on Sunday. And I really like this one. Also, what helps us out here is the Bills play first and they're more likely to win. Um, like based on the odds and whatever. So I think when the Bills destroy Denver, although do I do hope Denver can keep it close. I'll be looking to ard or hedge this in some sort of way. So keep up to the Twitter for this one, and we'll make something happen for that. And then moving on, this Ravens Steelers game, that's tonight's game at 8. Um, this one's really exciting. There's pretty much a million different numbers. Um, to help you make a bet. We're taking Ravens minus 9.5. And the reason for this is Mike Tomlin's 1-8, I believe, against spreads larger than 7 in his career. Like spreads over a touchdown, and the line's 9.5. We saw the Ravens beat the Steelers by 9 or by 17 like 3 weeks ago. And in a game that the Steelers kind of needed more than the Ravens. Um, because Steelers had the edge for the division and then just absolutely flamed out like they've done. But there's numbers going either way. There's a stat. It's Tomlin versus the like Steelers Ravens games are never the dog covers the spread more often than not. And then Tomlin's 11 or 10-2 against divisional teams in the playoffs. But the last time he played the divisional teams in the playoffs, it was when Baker absolutely killed them. What was that, like 2020 or 2021 or something? Baker's playoff game with the Browns. So
Yeah,
it's like the one that sticks out because a lot of these Steeler wins are way back in the day with Roethlisberger, and this is not that team. This team is, they're the 6 seed for a reason. They fell from the 2 seed in the AFC to the 6 seed for a reason, and I just think the Ravens are hot, Steelers are not. Give me Ravens minus 9.5. We'll take the theory of Tomlin struggling against the large spreads, and it's a large spread for a reason. The Ravens are really good.
yeah, they are.
All right, and then tonight's 4 o'clock game or 4:30 game, I'm taking CJ Stroud to outpass Justin Herbert. And the concept behind this is Harbaugh's gonna not only run the ball, he's gonna stop Joe Mixon. The problem with the Texans is their pass blocking. So they're gonna take away the run because they're probably gonna try to run it because they can't block the pass. And Stroud's gonna end up having to drop back like 40 times. I see them trailing for most of the game, and I kind of could see them, scoring a touchdown at the end of the game to win it, something like a walk-off in that sort of way. But just real simple, we'll take Stroud to outthrow Herbert. Their lines were both 230 or 231 for passing yards. And Stroud was his attempts line was too higher. So to me, that means he's gonna throw out more, and that's kind of the way I see the game going. Is the Texans will be airing it out. They got better receivers, I'd say, than the Chargers, and but Chargers defense is pretty good, but they're gonna be focused on stopping the run game, which means Stroud is gonna have to pass it if they're gonna do anything. Also, if they're trailing, that's gonna lead to more pass yards and less pass yards for Herbert because they're gonna be chewing clock. That's I think that's
Yeah.
probably the most exciting game of these playoffs, or at least on for the spread. game's the closest.
Which one? The Houston game?
But yeah, Houston versus the Chargers. I think it's the
Yeah.
tightest.
Yeah, there's a lot of big spreads, but I saw a lot of there's I think there's like 1.5 upsets a year in a wild card weekend, and
There's got to be one.
there's been there's been an upset every for there's been an upset in 40 of the last 46 years
Yes.
in of wild card weekend. So there's
That
normally an upset, but the upset could be a 1 point underdog being the upset, you know what I mean? So
that transitions
um
perfectly
we'll see
into
what
the team I think will pull off an upset, and that'll be the Green Bay Packers. So I'm going to take
yeah.
their spread plus 4.5. This one's minus 105. So it's basically, a pick 'em. You could move it down to 3.5 if you want a little bit better, but I think the 4.5 is fine because they could keep it within that, and it's closer than a touchdown, less than a field goal. But I could see them winning outright. I think they're plus 200 to win outright, and maybe we'll flex it. We'll add that later on, but um, Eagles are banged up coming in. I know Jordan Love is as well, but I think the Packers, their division is just much better. Like the teams they had to play all season long have prepped them for this, playing the Lions, playing the Vikings. Um, they played each other week one in Brazil. Um, and I think the Packers are like equally talented, and they're coming in a better spot than the Eagles, who have been playing with backup quarterbacks the past 2 weeks, have had all of their drama all season long. And I feel like this is the Eagles' thing to then, flame out in the postseason. It's just
Yeah.
it's their thing. Where the Packers last year went into
Uh,
Dallas when nobody thought they were going to do anything and absolutely destroyed the Cowboys.
yeah.
I would love to see them do it again. And I could like they're not going to be affected by the weather. They're young, but they've played enough ball to not be affected by the crowd. Like they've seen enough. It's not like they're the Dolphins that fold in cold weather. They've seen enough and they can play with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like I honestly thought this line would be like 3 even, but it's like it'd be a field goal line. But we're 4.5, and so we'll take the Packers on that one. I really This is probably the most exciting game. This one's tomorrow at 4:30. Like if you're talking about upsets, this is the one where not only is it upset likely, it's uh it's just a good matchup. Like the Packers are the team that's the lowest seed that could probably do the most damage in, either conference.
Yeah.
They're down at the 6 and they're dangerous. And then last one we got on Monday, we're taking the Vikings minus 2.5 against the Rams in Arizona. This one's interesting. I could kind of see it going both ways, but I just think the Vikings are the better team. They looked bad last week against the Lions,
They
but they
did.
really didn't look bad. Like they were right there, and they just needed a couple more plays, and they would have been there. Lions kind of ran up late in the game, but I do think they're gonna get their rematch against the Lions, and I think that'll be a great game next week. And I almost feel bad for the Lions because they shouldn't have to play the team with basically the same record as them in round two of the playoffs as the one seed. So I'm hoping the NFL and we get some conversations about reseeding the playoffs. Um, like not letting the fourth best division winner have a home game when they're really the worst record in the playoffs. We've seen this in the past with like a below 500 team host a playoff game against a really good wild card team. I'm hoping we could get some traction on that. We know it's going to be in college football for, not rewarding conference winners as much with the buys and the home games. A lot of talk having about that. Hopefully it gets into the NFL. And it's now no longer a home game for the Rams. So I really like the Vikings minus 3 here. If this was in Minnesota, they'd probably be like -6 favorites. Minnesota would be so.
Yeah.
And even if it was in LA, the Rams would have really no home field advantage.
Yeah.
They say defense travels, and Minnesota has a really good defense.
Yeah, I like Minnesota. They did struggle. Sam had a terrible game, but I like that whole team. They're pretty legit. Um and they've been kind of up until the end of the season. They were well, I nah, they were kind of in the spotlight all season, but I feel like they're kind of like Detroit's little brother right now because Detroit's getting all the
They just
attention.
win though.
Yeah, no, Detroit's good, but like Minnesota's really good. They're a good
They're
team. So
right there. They're on the same level, I think, with them. They're just not obviously as flashy as
yeah,
Detroit used to
exactly.
be. But in the playoffs, you don't need flashy. You just got to win.
You win,
They
yeah.
like they were even in that Detroit game. They were in it until like the fourth, and then
Yeah.
Gibbs went crazy. But
Yeah, he did.
that's why you got to watch the games. You can't just look at box scores because box score looks like a blowout, but the game was by no means a blowout. Minnesota had turnovers of golf, and they just couldn't capitalize. If they capitalized like one of those touchdowns, could be completely different game flow. So
Yeah.
the Rams will turn the ball over. I could see Stafford throwing a pick or two. Rams will keep it close because they always do, but we just need a Minnesota field goal to win or them to win. I could see them winning by 10 if it goes that way. But Minnesota's definitely gonna. I really think they're gonna win this game. I was gonna take the money line, but two and minus 2.5 is basically the money line, and
Yeah, much close enough.
so I'm
Better
gonna
odds.
go with more value. And then real quick before we wrap up episode 14 here, I wanted to talk about futures odds. Is NFL compared to college football future odds were pretty good this year. I thought like we talked about the Georgia plus 500, Notre Dame and Ohio State, they were also like plus Ohio State was like plus 450, I believe, and Notre Dame was I'm sure higher. Those would have been great bets if you took them back then. But I really wanted to look at Ravens Super Bowl odds. I believe it's right around that 500, 550 for them to win the Super Bowl. They're third best odds to win the Super Bowl, but then they're also third best odds to win the AFC. So they're ahead of Buffalo as far as odds to win the Super Bowl, but then they're below Buffalo for odds to win the AFC. And so they're plus 280 to win the AFC. So I was like, all right, that's decent odds. Maybe bet that for them just to win the AFC. But if you think about it, they're heavy favorites today. So maybe don't count this one as much. But if you bet your one unit on them to beat Buffalo on the road, which is likely who they play next, that'll probably be plus money. And then you bet them again to beat Kansas City on the road, that's also plus money. So you'll have two plus money bets rolled over versus one plus 280 bet. So I think there's a lot more value in betting just Ravens money line if you want to take them to win the AFC and then obviously you add the Super Bowl in it. So you have three basically if you call it three even bets, that'll math out to like plus 600 versus the plus 550 that they are if you just bet them straight out to win the Super Bowl. So I think if you roll these over, you'll get more value out of it than just taking a future. The kind of mad with what the NFL or I guess what the odds did with these where college there seemed to be value on the board. NFL not so much, where these odds are a lot lower, and it's always the higher odds teams that win. I believe it's like the top eight Super Bowl odds always win the Super Bowl of the past like 12 years, and then of like the past 8 years, it's been the top six or higher. So it's always the lower odds, and in those low odds, it's there's more value if you just bet their money, roll over their money line, than betting whatever you want to bet on them at the high odds. Because if you're say $100 on an even line, then it becomes 200 on an even line. Or if you put 100 on plus 500, you'll get more of that rolled over three times that even than um, plus 500 right away. And especially these, if you're doing the Ravens, they're gonna have two road games most likely, and they'll be underdogs in these games. So you'll get even more value out of it because it'll be better than even money.
Oh yeah. Gotta do
And
it.
so
Gotta do it like that.
if you're
The
gonna
brain's
if you're gonna
working.
take these future odds, if you want to bet on that, just make sure you look at what it is and think about how you might be able to make more, rolling over a money line bet instead of just betting the straight up straight up money. And then you could take money out if you want to get your initial investment out halfway through it, you could do that and move forward that way.
Yeah, I was just about to say you could like bet whatever you're going to bet the first time, and then either play with profit or take profit and keep playing with that same unit size, whatever you want to do. But there's a way you can either limit loss or gain and kind of maximize your gain. You know what I mean? So um, depends on how you want to do it. But
But I
I
think
like where Kyle was going with it.
that's all we got for today. We got some good, I really like our NFL bets here. Finally had a good week in college football. We'll be back later in the week to talk about Wildcard Weekend and do a deeper dive on the national championship.
Yeah, we will. We'll see you guys then.